Hey everybody, it's Andy. Welcome to my 4-part live series on my #1 tips. I'm going to give you a piece of advice for every step of your job search. We're doing this live. I love it. If you are here with me, get in the chat. Let me know who you are, where you're from. You got any questions? We're going to go through all your questions as well. But I've got this live 4-part series. We're going to be covering your resume. We're going to be covering the job search. We're going to be covering the interview and the salary negotiation over the next 7 days. So welcome. I am thrilled to have you, whether you're here with me live or you're watching this on a recording. Absolutely, absolutely stoked. And today specifically, we're going to talk about resume writing. And more specifically, we're going to talk about the career profile. I'm going to show you how to place a little summary at the top of your resume that will absolutely positively reshape the way somebody looks at your entire resume. And I'm not just talking about the humans here. I'm also talking about the computers and those pesky applicant tracking systems, which will absolutely thank you. So I've got a lot in store. And just so you know what the agenda looks like for today, we're going to talk about the career profile. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you why it's important. I'm going to debunk a whole bunch of myths about what people think about it. We're going to talk about specifically what to include in it. I'm going to show you a sample. We're going to have some fun with some pictures, and then we'll do the Q&A. Like my normal Q&A, kind of a la the live office hours regular programs. So I got a lot in store for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about the career profile. This thing, let's not overly complicate what it is. It goes by many names. I call it a career profile. You can call it a profile. You can call it a career summary. You can call it a summary. You can call it whatever you want. You don't even have to name it. But it is who and what you are about. So overall, what have you done collectively in your job search? And you're trying to just create a very high-level view of who you are. Now, we're going to go into the psychology behind it, the what's and the wherefores, and exactly what this looks like. But it's just a summary. Let's not overly complicate it. It's a summary at the top. The most important thing that I want you to realize about the career profile is where it is, which is at the top of your resume. So when somebody, if they printed it out, fine, they look at it, they're going to look at the top first. If they're looking at it on the computer screen and they put up, they're going to look at it on the top first. So I want you to realize that it's so important because it is the first thing they see. I always like to use the analogy that your career profile is like your smile. It's like your smile. When they see it from across the room, are you smiling? Are you beaming? Are you warm and welcoming? Are they getting excited and thinking, I am absolutely going to love reading this person's resume? It's kind of a first impression. So it's your spot to set the tone for how somebody receives you initially. It's very important. It is the most prime piece of real estate. It is like your billboard. It's like your billboard. So what does the billboard do? Think in terms of the book cover. Think in terms of the billboard. This is your chance to grab somebody's attention. So it's not just about making them feel good about you, but it's also about grabbing their attention and then holding it, because if they get excited about what they're about to read, they're going to pay more attention to your resume. So you're setting the tone. The other thing that it does that I don't think a lot of people recognize, but it's a summary. And a summary, when you start to give me an executive summary of who you are, it helps me with my memory of you. People think in terms of a couple of adjectives about you. He's a seller at large companies. She's tall with red hair. Whatever it might be. But people kind of, they drop breadcrumbs in their head about who you are so that they can recollect them later if they want to recall who you are. And if you're interested in more on how memory works and how memory works in interviews, make sure you check out Interview Intervention Communication That Gets You Hired. My first book, I go into how all this works. But what you are doing is you are planting the breadcrumbs and you are making it easier for the person, because we always want to think long game. This isn't just, I'm going to send my resume in, I'm going to get an interview. This is, I'm going to send my resume in and I'm going to get the job. And so I'm going to go through a whole interview process to do that. I need the people along the way to be able to recollect who I am in a whole sea of other job candidates. So when I think about, and I'm having it reinforced about who that person is, what they're about, how big their accomplishments are, I can retain all that if I've got a nice little summary. Okay, so that helps the memory, but I want you to make an impression, and I want you to be able to tell your story the way you want your story to be told and the way you want me to receive it and what you want me to know about you. I call that controlling the narrative. Controlling the narrative. So think about whoever you are. Doesn't matter where you're currently working, where you've most recently worked, or where you've spent the last 5 years. You get to spoon feed me the narrative you want me to know about you. So you are leading with, here's what I want you to know about me, instead of here's where I currently work. Here's where I currently go to school. Here's where I most recently went to school. Whatever that is, that doesn't control the narrative. You get to say whatever you want to say up top, and most people who are looking at the career profile are spending more time on the career profile than they are looking through the rest of it because they're getting spoon-fed the story. So I want you to make sure that you recognize that you get to put in there whatever it is you want, so you get to control the story. The other thing that does is it sets the biases that I'm going to start to formulate right away before I read the rest of the resume. So think about this. If you can position me to think optimistically about you, everything in the resume is going to look better and read better to me, and I'm going to start giving you the benefit of the doubt instead of the detriment of my doubt, where I'm looking for things and not finding them. If I started to draw inferences up at the top because I assumed you had certain skills or you'd done certain things, which is natural because people are not spending a ton of time with your resume. They're actually trying to formulate an opinion of you. If you give me all that positivity up front, the rest of the stuff tastes better. When the plate looks better, the food tastes better. When I go sit out in the back on my balcony and it's a nice warm 75 and sunny degree day, although it's about 43 degrees right now where I live, when I start recollecting and thinking back on my past, all of a sudden my memories are a lot more fond. But if it's freezing cold out there and it's snowing and I'm sitting there and trying to remember it, I don't have the same recollections, and everything doesn't. I don't remember it as well, and I don't remember it as fondly. So you are setting biases. You're setting them early. You want to make sure that you're giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. All right, this is the other thing it does, and I'm going to say that this is my only deference I will ever make to an objective statement. You know those objective statements that I absolutely cannot stand on a resume. They have no place on a resume because it talks about what you want and instead of what you offer. And I'm always stressing that you want to show what you offer up top, right? We're talking about your billboard and the value you can contribute to the company. Well, those inferences I was talking about, those biases and those assumptions, I'm going to start formulating what it is that you want to be, not who it is that you are. So I'm thinking about if I see a career profile at the top of the page and it has a lot of information about how you're a seller and so forth, I'm going to assume that you want to continue down that career trajectory and that you don't want to make a change to marketing. So you get to slant your profile based on where you want to go, not solely where you've been, although it is about your history, but the way that we articulate it and what it is that we say about ourselves can shape the way people think about us in the future. So this is my only deference to that. It's kind of getting the point of the objective statement into the fact that they're going to make an assumption about who you want to be. So you are controlling all this stuff. You're controlling all this stuff. All right, so that's why it's important. Now, when I have conversations with people and we talk about their resume, I get a lot of questions about, well, you know, I've been told I shouldn't have a career profile. I should put my education up top. I should put just where I start. Recruiters don't want to take the time. I would like to run through some of these myths and give you some lessons from them, just a completely different perspective in ways that you may never think about this stuff. All right, so number one I get is, hey, Andy, won't I be repeating myself? Won't I be repeating myself? If I say this up top, then they go down into the body of the resume, they start looking at it, won't it be repetition? Well, the one thing that I would say about repetition is, number one, if you package the career profile properly, you won't actually be repeating yourself. Remember, the career profile is a summary, and we'll go through an example, but the career profile is a summary. If you're a seller and you've sold $10 million in consumer products goods, you're not going to repeat in the body, I sold $10 million of consumer product goods. You're actually going to show me in your career trajectory over the companies that you worked for, I sold 2 million here and 3 million there and 2 million there and so on. It's going to add up to 10. So that's really nice. And as a matter of fact, people are skimming your resume. We're going to talk about this a bit throughout, and it's going to be a recurring theme, but they're skimming. So the reinforcement of who you are and the substantiation of it is very, very important. So not only are you saying, I did all this, you're showing and providing evidence of where you've done it. That repetition is actually quite helpful. So that's one. This one coming up is my absolute favorite. We are going to beat this one to death. All right, so Andy, won't it take you more time, or the recruiter more time, to read my resume? Well, a couple things you got to know here. This is total insider talk. Okay, so when you think about that logic actually applies if somebody, let's assume that somebody actually starts at the top left of your resume, reads it from left to right and top to bottom, then turns over the page, then reads that from top left to right and top to bottom. It would take me longer to read more words than less words. Yes, that's true. Except that's not reality. Number one, nobody, and I mean nobody, reads a resume. It's skimmed. And the other thing, we're going to talk about it a few times, is recruiters are looking for what it is they want, not what it is you wrote. So based on whatever it is you wrote, I'm looking for the things that I need to see that this job candidate actually has to know if they can satisfy what it is I'm looking for. So now I have to just go find it. That's one perspective. The other perspective is, if you're thinking in terms of time for me to read your resume, your focus is on the wrong goal. Your goal in putting a resume together is not to get a job, because resumes don't get jobs. Resumes get job interviews. Your goal in submitting a resume is to get whoever is receiving that resume to the point where they say, I need to speak to this person. I need to speak to this person, and the faster I get to that conclusion and give you that job interview or that phone screen or that Skype interview or whatever it is, the faster I get there, the more effective your resume is. The time you should be thinking about is not the time. Your job is not to make it shorter for me to read your resume. Your job is to make it faster for me to get to the decision that I want to speak with you. That's what's most important. Now, in order for me to know whether I want to speak with you, I have to imagine who you are, what you're about, what you can do. I have to create a story in my mind to know whether I want to talk to you. If you don't give me that executive summary or that career profile, I have to go through the body of your resume and I have to look for everything that I want, and then I have to assemble the story, which takes more effort. And here's the worst part. The worst part is you run the risk of me creating a story that isn't you. Because I misinterpreted, misconstrued, filled in a bunch of gaps that weren't accurate. Wouldn't it be better if you just told me what you wanted to tell me and for me to decide whether I wanted to speak to you? True story. We were actually, when we were recruiting, Kara and I were doing a lot of recruiting. We still recruit. We were doing a lot of recruiting some years back. And this person sent me an email with his resume in it. And at the top, it said something about, inquiring about this position, referral from somebody or just a loose acquaintance. I'm not even sure I knew the person. The referral. It sends me an email. I'm going through, I happen to get the email while I'm going through my emails. It was just my email hour of the day. I'm going through my emails. I get the email, I open it up, I see he's got about this much in maybe 4 lines in the email to introduce himself, and then he's got his resume attached, his cover letter attached. I open the email, I know he's looking for a job, I know he's interested in a job that I think we're recruiting for. I click open his resume, I read his career profile, I shut the thing, I emailed him back, and I said, send me some times this week when you can speak to me on the phone for an hour. He emails me back and he says, Andy, that was fast. Did you even read my resume? I said, not only did I not read your resume, I didn't read your cover letter, I didn't even read your email. Because I got to the point where I knew, based on his profile, and then I just went down, boom, and I didn't read anything. I picked out a company or two that he worked at, and I thought, this guy's worth my time. He's either going to be right for this job, which would be a miracle, or this would be somebody that would be good for me to know to either network with, or maybe for future jobs, or whatever. I've got a whole host of goals that I can accomplish by speaking to him. So just remember, the only goal you should be focused on based on time is write that on the top of everything you do and every day that you think about sending out your resume. How fast can I get somebody to say yes? How fast can I get somebody to say, yes, I need to speak to this person? That's the time you should be thinking about, not worrying about how long it's going to take me to read your resume. Just make sure you have in your resume what I needed to have in there. What I need to have in there. Okay, can you tell I'm a little PO'd about that one when I hear that? Okay, what's this one? Okay, white space. But I've been told I need white space at the top because that looks better. I don't know who told you that, but think about this logic. What does white space do? Nothing. It's white. It's blank. It doesn't tell me anything that I need. And what's worse is what you probably have in the white space, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes, what most of them look like is you probably have a table with stuff in it, with bullets that are very generic, either business functions or skills you have or traits you have or whatever. None of that stuff gives me what I need. And just because you say you have that doesn't mean you actually have that. I need evidence of the fact. So if in a career profile you can give me some text where I can pick out some of that evidence, I'm loving it. So the white space doesn't do, I understand the concept of white space, and I'm not talking about like my walls and art and those kind of things. I'm talking about your resume, which has to have data in it, which I need to see, or any recruiter needs to see to make sure that they know you got the goods. And trust me when I tell you, and I'm going to show you here with some samples, recruiters know how to pick out that information. I mean, I don't want you to have 0.6 font where I can't read it, but just have a normal text separation, paragraphs and all that good stuff, and we'll find it. We'll find it. How about this one? Applicant tracking systems. What do those computers want? They don't want white space. They can't do anything with white space. Applicant tracking systems are so stupid. All they do is companies feed in keywords and key traits and other things that they want, and all the applicant tracking system does is take the garbage it was given, it takes your resume, and it looks for that in there. And you got to have it. Otherwise, it doesn't filter you through. That's it. It's nothing more than keyword matching. And if you start putting things in tables, which creates white space, applicant tracking systems cannot digest the white. They can't digest the table. They burp on them. I've gone into this ad nauseum. I actually got a video out there called 3 Free Tools for Your Resume to Beat the Applicant Tracking System. When we record this, we'll put this up in the card. I think maybe we'll put it in the description here too, so you can find that. But keep in mind, applicant tracking systems are looking for those words. And if you write the career profile the way I'm going to show you here in a minute, then you'll have the stuff that the applicant tracking system desires, that's actually looking for. So applicant tracking systems don't like white space. Applicant tracking systems don't like tables. They do not. They do not. I've gone and given you a ton of insight onto that. All right, so all this said, you know why it's important. You know what it can do for you. What goes in it? What goes in it? So it's not very complicated. It's actually quite simple. Maybe 1 to 2 paragraphs. I like 2 because of the way I'm going to show you how to separate out the things that I want you to put in there. 1 paragraph can get a little long, but 1 to 2 paragraphs. It's an aggregation. It's an aggregation of you in all of its forms. This is more of a theme than what goes in it, but along those lines, when I talk about aggregation, I'm talking about the total number of years of work experience, or maybe the total number of relevant years of experience, or if you have 20 years of work experience in the information technology arena and you've got 10 in financial services and 10 in healthcare and you want to call out both, that's fine. If you say I've got 20 years of experience in information technology and 10 years of experience in healthcare, that's fine. But basically it's an aggregation that gives somebody an understanding of what it is and how much of it, or how many years of it in experience that you have of it and you've done. I also love company types, sizes, markets, and those kind of things. So small companies, big companies, medium size, private, public, non-for-profit, those kind of things. What industries? Financial services, healthcare, manufacturing, and so on. That kind of stuff is really cool because that gives people an idea of the experience. You can call it out when you send your resume to the healthcare companies, and you don't have to call it out if you're sending it to the manufacturing companies or whatever. You can kind of play around with that. The other thing is it should have a high level achievement that encapsulates everything that you are, stand for, and will be soon. So, I use those seller examples a lot because we do a lot of salespeople. So if I've sold and managed $10 million in consumer product goods. Awesome. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. That's a high level achievement. It's an aggregation of who you are. Have you built market brands for whatever, X types of companies? That's great. I just need to understand what that accomplishment or high level achievement is. And then we round it out with core competencies. These are, you can call this whatever you want. I call it core competencies. A competency is a business function that you have specific working knowledge of. It is a hardcore skill/knowledge. It's complex sales. It's forecasting, budgeting, cost-based accounting, things that are very discrete that somebody says, oh, you've got experience doing that. Software development, implementation, or whatever. It is not character traits or opinions of yourself like I'm a self-starter, I'm detail-oriented, I'm a leader, I'm a strong communicator. Says you. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to give them an idea of what business functions you know. Now let's have a little fun. I'm going to show you some pictures. We're going to address some more of these things. I'm going to repeat myself. We're going to do some reinforcement, but I want to show you some of this stuff. All right. So right now you should be seeing a blue screen that says a real pro can skim. So I want to go back and I want to share with you those of you that are worried that I cannot decipher white space. We're going to spend a few slides on this. I did this, actually, I don't know if you guys are with me. I think I might have done something really similar like 3-4 weeks ago when I was talking about resume tips. But I'm guessing, can I get a shout out in the chat? Can you give me an I got it? If that took you like 3 seconds to read that and understand exactly what I said, scream out in the chat. Let me know, Andy, I got it. That's funny. You can say whatever you want. But the fact of the matter is, these are misspelled words, and I'm guessing that all 135 of you that are on here with me now can read this, right? I mean, how funny is that? So imagine what a trained recruiter who is specifically looking for exactly what they want to know, that they're looking to match up the top portion of your resume and your entire resume with the stuff that they're looking for. Imagine what that recruiter can do. Okay, now, here's the thing about the white space. Okay, John Smith, we're going to beat up this dude. He says, I'm a senior project manager. This is what a lot of resumes look like. This is the top portion. They got their name on the left or the right or the center. And then all of a sudden, I see this, hey man, look, there's a lot of nice white space there, right? There's also a lot of bullets. And there's 12 core competencies, which I have no problem with, by the way, that this guy lists that tell me nothing. So he's a senior project manager. That's all I need to know. I know that a senior project manager knows how to design, scope, manage, run a team, do risk profiling, budgeting, forecasting, and so on. So he just wasted 2 inches of the top of his resume with nothing. Now, Jane, we love Jane because Jane knows what she's doing. So this one here And by the way, we're going to break this down in the next slide, so I'm going to go through this kind of quickly. The thing I want you to take away from this illustration is she says, all right, I'm a senior project manager, just like John. I got 10 years of experience. Nice. Okay. IT, beautiful. Fortune 500, large companies, fine. They could be small. They could be, I don't care. Financial services, great. She knows how to manage software. She up to $2 million in budget and 25 people. Wow. That is, I don't know, what is that, like 9 pieces of information? 8-9 pieces of information that she gave me in 2 sentences. And then what she did for the cheap seats, and not really for me, but for the computer, is core competencies. Okay, I know what's to follow, and I wouldn't look at that. But what I do know is she needs that in the resume, because if she's putting this in an applicant tracking system, the applicant tracking system is looking for those words. Those are obligatory. She needs to put them in there. It doesn't bother me, and it doesn't cost me any time because I skip right out. I saw core competencies. I'm going to drop. My eyes are going to drop down. Let's take a look at this. So senior PM, 10, IT, Fortune 500, financial services, she's a manager, 2 mil, 25 people. 9 beautiful pieces of information in what actually is about 1 inch on the resume. The gray part I will not look at, and I'll skip down. But if she threw in something else that would be really nice to know, like her MBA from Harvard, sweet. Her PMP certification, wonderful. Maybe she's got a CCIE, maybe she's a CFP, whatever it is, that's cool to get those other bright spots of your background, your education, your certifications, and so on embodied in the career profile. I do not like them next to her name because applicant tracking systems don't like a lot of letters, numbers, other things, parentheses, and things up at the top. It just wants to break the field up and populate it as your name. Plus, when somebody's reading the resume, whenever I see MBA, PMP, CFP, this, that, and the other thing up at the top, it sends off the wrong kind of message. But what she did here was she got it in. I will pick it up. I would never miss that. And she got it in and she downplayed it. And that actually is a cool move. Okay, so this is a quality layout. Now, when you're looking at this, and by the way, you can come back and revisit this. You've got the little template here, but what you're really trying to do is over on the left, you want to give a descriptor of yourself. Maybe you are a senior accountant. Maybe you are a chief financial officer. Maybe you are a whatever. 10 years of experience. Maybe you've got 20 years of experience with 10 in financial services because you're trying to highlight that. That's cool. What's the main thing that you do? In her, she implements IT stuff. Okay, she's an IT person. Awesome. Not going to forget that. She's highlighting big companies. Maybe that's important for her to do because she's applying for a big company. But maybe she has small company work in her background, and she wants to show you that she's got a range, small to big companies. That's fine too. But you're getting the sense that in that second sentence is her major accomplishment. And then, like I said, for the system, she calls out those specific functions. And what you can do in that gray area is you can actually swap out the nomenclature based on the keywords that are in the job description for the job you're applying to. So if she would have said, if she needs to throw in here that she also knows agile methodology or waterfall or whatever, she can do that. All right, so wait, I want to head back here. Do me a favor in the chat. So we run surveys on this, and I want to survey you guys. We run surveys on these things. Like we run surveys with hiring officials and recruiters. Well, I'm not going to tell you who wins, but will you in the chat? Will you give me a John or a Jane, depending on which one of these you favor? And I promise I won't make fun of you if you don't like the one that I don't like, which I know you know, but. We survey HR people, recruiters, hiring officials by the thousands every year, and we send them lots of questions about hiring and how many people they hire and what type of resume format they favor. And I would be curious to know because we have percentages of what these people report back on these surveys of what the percentages of how many of these people absolutely Jane crushes John's butt every single time. So anybody who tells you that they need to see white space up there, that's not an actual hirer. That's not somebody who's reviewing a lot of resumes. Okay, I need the data I need to make a decision, and I want to get there quickly. You do not get there. You do not get me there faster when I see the top thing. I have to search for more insight. Okay, so we'll check in here. You know, when we hit the Q&A, I'll look at the chat and all that good stuff. But you get the stuff. And if you don't believe me on this, that this stuff works. By the way, don't worry, I'm not going to sell you anything here. But I do want to show you these people. Now, Stephanie had her resume like John's. We changed it to Jane's. She's in my boot camp, and you know, she sent it out to 10 1 week, and we communicated. I said, report back to me. How you doing? I've been getting responses by sending my resumes to C-levels with your help, and I'm getting emails back on almost all I apply. I've got a husband and wife, Anastasia and Michael, who are in these programs. Anastasia talked her husband Michael into joining one of my programs, and look at this. We had a professionally written, a lot of plagiarism, wasn't getting us anything. He enrolls in your course, rewrote the resume with a rewrite within 2 weeks, 6 interview requests, and I think he is actually working for Google right now. And then Jill, Jill, I don't know if Jill's here, but Jill starts her job on October 22nd. So, give a shout out to Jill since I revamped my resume. I mean, these are all people in my programs, but I just grabbed some from YouTube. I mean, you could go to any of the videos that I have on resume writing and look at what those people say. I reconstructed it based on the guidelines you gave me. This guy, I think, SIBO watched How to Build the Ultimate Professional Resume, which is a free video that's out there. I give you the template and all that good stuff. 3 interviews out of 5. Bob went from 0 to 8. Okay, 8 for 8. And then Sarah cracks me up, and I love the picture. But, your suggestions gain me abundance of interviews. This stuff flat out works. And I know there's a lot of different resume templates out there. I know there are a lot of different formats, and you can play around with it, but I've looked at more than 500,000 resumes, way more than that. We've helped people write them. I've interacted with more than 200 companies that we've worked with. My executive search for MileWalk as an executive recruiter. We've helped nearly 600 people attain jobs. We work with the hiring officials. We see what works. And what I've done from all of these resumes that I've been given by people is I've designed what I think works and is curated to work, not only for the human, but for the applicant tracking system. So just make sure, revisit this when you get the replay. Check out that template. And if you want more on, resume writing, I got 2 great free resources. One of them, and this is in the description, is a free resume webinar. It's about an hour long, called 3 Secrets to Get Your Resume Noticed. In that free webinar, I show you exactly how somebody looks at the resume. I also go into topically the kind of content you need to have in the resume to create a winning one. But this is insider stuff. And then the other one, if you're looking for something a little bit more prescriptive on how to write the resume, I know I had a resume writing class a couple of weeks ago. That's now retired for a long time. But I do have a video called Build Your Ultimate Professional Resume. It's a resume template. There's instructions, and I take you through all the sections. So the career profile, though, this is a great template to use for that. All right, so if you're loving this, if you're here live, give me a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and make sure you are watching or setting reminders for Saturday, for Tuesday, for the subsequent sessions that we're going to have in this program. I don't want you to miss any, but if you do, the replays are going to be up for a limited time. You can check out the event page. That's in the description as well. And if you are watching this on a recording, so long. I will see you in the next video.